So welcome back, everyone. I am talking about men with depression or men struggling with depression, just a little bit about my journey and some of the things I learned to understand it with traditional and non-traditional approaches. As I stated in several videos prior, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not trying to redefine anything. I'm just sharing my journey to help men be more courageous and face it or understand it or take a step in the right direction, and to help people who have men in their lives that are struggling with it. In previous videos as well, I spoke about sort of this moat of protection or dysfunctional protection that surrounded my depression, that was characterized by ignorance, fear, and shame in not any one order. They all kind of worked together to keep me from seeing what was going on inside of me. Once I could see that and began to go deeper, I started finding recurring root causes that were keeping me sad, keeping me depressed. One of them in the last video I spoke about was this idea of not forgiving people, and how that really began to show up in very unexpected ways with my family, specifically my kids. An additional root cause that I would almost say was more powerful and more unconscious, if you will, was this attitude or spirit of comparison. I think it's healthy to have healthy comparison in what we're doing in life, and to try to be better or try to better people's lives, or to try to improve things for our families and that kind of thing. When, or at least for me I should say, I found my approach to comparison was very unhealthy, because it was coming from a deficit. It was coming from a lack mentality. It was coming from not really knowing how to do it in a healthy way. That's typically an attribute, or not so positive attribute, you'll find in homes where there's not a male role model, which was definitely unique to mine. And so by the time I get to my 20s, probably by the time I get to my teens, I'm comparing like on autopilot. There's nothing ever good enough. And he always has more, and she's always got this and that. And what I want to share is where it really played out in my professional life. In 2005, I was second year with a new company, new industry, ended up number 2 in my field of responsibility, and got to go on a company trip. In 2007, ended up number 1 out of about 120 professionals. And I'll never forget, there were 3 metrics in which we were measured, and each one of them had a point value, and I had the overall best point value in 2007 and number 2 in 2005. And on both trips, I'll never forget feeling or thinking this attitude of comparison, comparing like the point spread. Like I was number 1 in the company, but that's not what I thought about. I was thinking about, why wasn't, why didn't I have a bigger spread? Because I'd worked very hard with my team. I was looking at the point spread between number 2 in my position, number 4 in my position, in all 3 categories. That's how this was like a free trip to San Diego too, all expenses paid. It's like a great place to go. So the last thing I needed to be doing was thinking about the point total. But of course, that showed up in, the quality of the trip for me and my then wife, and the way I saw the business was this very profound and subconscious way of thinking around comparison. And so I share that to say that I think, like I started this call, I think it's healthy to have some level of comparison when you're not coming from a position of lack thinking or a deficit, emotional deficit. But when you're coming from either one of those, which is what I was, and then you start to have success, comparison shows up in dysfunctional ways, and did have the ongoing effects on keeping me depressed. I hope that's helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts about comparison. So it's open to anyone that wants to share. But that was certainly at the root of a lot of my depression, was this attitude of always comparing, how good of a husband he is, and how good of a father he is, and how great of a life they have. Those kinds of things. Hope that's helpful. Have a great day, and thanks for your time.